Courtney Bush and I'm an education major.
I'm Maddie Burk and I'm a nursing major.
Today we're going to be doing the experiment Elephant's Toothpaste.
Do you ever wonder what elephants use to brush their teeth? Well, today we're going to show you.
Although I really don't think that elephants do this to brush their teeth because of the chemicals that are used in this experiment are harmful to ingest.
This experiment is done to show the effects of catalyzers and oxidizers. And an oxidizer is mainly composed of oxygen, and it is used to support and start fires and can help things burn.
On the other hand, a catalyst is used to enhance the chemical reaction during the experiment, but the catalyst itself does not undergo any sort of chemical reaction, and that was from the Merriam Dictionary.
First things are safety. Hydrogen peroxide is corrosive and it is an oxidizer, so it can be harmful to the skin, and if ingested can also be harmful. That's from the hydrogen peroxide data sheet.
Also from the hydrogen peroxide data sheet, because we wear gloves and goggles because it can irritate your skin, so they must be worn at all times.
Potassium iodide is also an irritant, and because it could be harmful if ingested. That's from the potassium iodide data sheet.
Okay, so when gathering your supplies, you're going to always wear gloves and goggles during the whole experiment. You need a 500 milliliter graduated cylinder, a tray to perform the experiment on, dish soap, and food coloring if you choose, and then you're going to use the hydrogen peroxide and the potassium iodide, which we already measured out in the weighing boat, and the 50 milliliter graduated cylinder.
You'll need 30% hydrogen peroxide, and you'll need 30 milliliters of it, and 3 grams of the potassium iodide, and then a squirt of dish soap.
So to begin, you add the 30 milliliters of the hydrogen peroxide into the 500 milliliter graduated cylinder.
After that, you'll add a generous squirt of dish soap, about 2 milliliters, but it doesn't have to be exact.
And then that's when, if you choose, you can use food coloring, and if you want to change the whole color, you just squirt it into the mixture, and if you want to stripe it, you just do it down the sides of the cylinder. Oops. It's not really going to be striped, I missed. And then when you're ready to begin the experiment, you add the 3 grams of the potassium iodide to the other mixture that's already in there. And the experiment takes place.
The result is the breakdown in the oxygen in the hydrogen peroxide. The soap captures it, and that's why the foam is created.
The foam is expelled, as you can see, and the original color of the foam, which you can see less of now, is yellow, and that's due to the potassium iodide.
After all the foam is expelled, you can rinse the waste down the sink. However, whenever you go to pick up the graduated cylinder, it is warm to the touch because it's an exothermic reaction, which is when heat is produced and steam is given off. A little bit of steam is visible.
More about an exothermic reaction. An exothermic reaction is the energy buildup in this experiment being given off by heat, so that's why it's warm to the touch and you see a little bit of steam. An example of another exothermic reaction would be like a fire, because it puts off the heat around you.
Another example of an exothermic reaction would be hand warmers. They're iron powder in a microporous pouch, and when you shake the hand warmers to heat them up, the oxygen goes inside and reacts with the iron, which gives off the heat.
And hydrogen peroxide is a good oxidizer because of the 2 oxygen molecules in the compound, and when it is mixed with the potassium iodide, which is a catalyst, it increases the breakdown, which is what happens in this experiment.
An everyday example of a catalyst would be the enzymes in the cells. And enzymes are just proteins that act as catalysts inside the living cells. So for example, in your digestive tract, when food enters, it breaks down the food and is able to absorb the nutrients from it and give it to the rest of the body.
And another everyday example is for 2 things would be hydrogen peroxide. One thing it's used for is bleaching, which you can use that in your hair, and the hydrogen peroxide enters the shaft of the hair and reacts with the pigmentation of your hair and releases the oxygen molecules, which is what causes the hair to change color. And another thing hydrogen peroxide is most commonly used for is cleaning of wounds, because hydrogen peroxide kills the unhealthy bacteria in the wound or cut and allows you to prevent infection. But when you do so, you want to use 3% hydrogen peroxide, not 30%, because as we said, 30% hydrogen peroxide is dangerous to the skin.
These were both received from Chris Sanchez at Google Sites.
And now that we told you what elephants don't brush their teeth with and why they actually don't use this, what do you think they do use?